Hello! Welcome to this new thing that we're doing. It's kind of an experiment, an idea by our own Thurman. David, can you come here and make sure that this mic isn't muted?
It should not be. You are on.
Okay. What about this? Is that...
That one there, that was the snowball that just got disconnected.
So we're good.
We're good.
Okay. All right, so this is an idea. And you're probably thinking, what the fuck? Why is Doctor Who and fucking Beelzelbub in the same video in existence? Why would that be a thing? Essentially, this is an idea where two people argue over two different things. It could be video games, anime, live-action TV shows, anything, really. And they argue about which one's better, and then a random bystander, played by David in this instance. Say hi, David.
Yo!
Yeah, basically a random bystander who knows nothing about either of the two, and we made sure of this. He knows nothing about Doctor Who other than the main premises, and he knows nothing about nothing about Beelzebub other than the main premises. And basically, we have to debate about the two things, and we have to decide, and he, just from hearing our debates, has to decide which one he'd rather watch. So that's what we'll be doing, and we'll be going through categories, of course. And yeah, Thurman, this was your idea. Anything to comment?
Nah, you nailed it. Mm-hmm. Let's get the show going.
And one last thing too. If this works, this is an experiment. If this works and it's people like it and it flows off well, this will kind of be like intermingled with the chaos battle. So it would be one every other week would be a chaos battle, one every other week would be this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah. Thurman, you want to start first? Remember, we are trying to convince David here.
All right, so since David is the bystander, David, what category would you like to know about the series first?
Well, series for me, for this one, I know that there's a lot of world building in Doctor Who, because that's just space exploration through, various time periods, shit like that, from what I understand of the series. We also have a lot of, major character development because, let's face it, a lot of these Adventure of the Week series can kind of get shitty.
Mm-hmm. That's a good thing to talk about, yep.
And then we'd also, obviously in an anime/manga, you would expect a lot of character development. So that would be another one for that. And obviously you would expect at least a little bit of world building. I know from what I have of the premises, shonen, so you can either be hit or miss there for the world building there.
All right, so you want to know about world building first.
Yeah.
So you want to know about world building first.
What was he saying?
He said you want to know about world building first.
Yep, world building would be a great place to start off.
All right.
Okay, so let's start off with Beelzelbub. Okay, so Beelzelbub. Compared to Doctor Who, right? Beelzelbub has some pretty good world building. There are essentially a few places you can essentially follow the universe, right? There's Hell, and then there's Earth, right? And the way they do this is that they kind of, in Beelzelbub, they kind of let you know, okay, so this is what Hell is like. This is the rules it. This is like the land. This is people who live in it. And then in the world, you see this because in Beelzelbub, the series is focused on high schoolers. So there's different schools, right? So there's the initial school. It's like a very delinquent-esque school. There's a hierarchy. There's different sections. There's like famous people, and then you have these other schools. Like the sister school of this school that's not so very delinquently, and you have all the situations there, and then you have the demon school that was built, and then you have what's there, and then you kind of get the hierarchy and the demon royalty, how that works, who runs that, like how the siblings work, the different type of characters, like the 7 deadly sins in the series. And stuff like that. So I would say, compared to Doctor Who, I'd say Beelzelbub essentially has a beaten world building because you have different characters in it. You have the hierarchies. You have Hell, and you have different schools, how the schools work, and all that other stuff. So yeah. I forgive you.
Okay, no, no, it does not have Doctor Who beating world building. Bro, like, I could probably give you the character development side because, you know, they have an endpoint to their manga, so they can really change up their characters. So, and with long running series, obviously they have to semi keep their characters in a stasis. Think Simpsons, think Family Guy, but world building is where they can flourish, man. I'm going to try to find the post for editing. I cannot find it currently, but one of my favorite posts was basically, you know those Tumblr posts where it's like people talking about a show and shit. It was one talking about Doctor Who, and it was like, you know your show's gone on a long time when the fans can literally pick out, or like literally tell you the exact temperature, spatial coordinates, seasons, like grass color on the Doctor's home planet. Like there's like average temperature. They're like when the show's been going on for that long, you get a lot of shit. There's probably, I don't know the exact number, but there's got to be over hundreds of alien species. There's lore. There's like you know, like we know exactly what happens to the human civilization. They kind of go out and conquer the universe and create like the second great human empire. And basically it's explained why it's a perfect, what this show does, it's one of them cheeky shows that works within its budget, and since it doesn't have the best budget, it kind of makes up for that with creativity. So, like, obviously when you're making aliens, it's a lot easier to have aliens that look humanoid, because, you know, humans with shit on them to make them look like aliens. Doctor Who's explanation for this, and this is so world building because it's like what happened in the world. Doctor Who's explanation for this is that, and it makes a lot of sense, is that humans, what do you do? What do you do best? You go out, colonize, and fuck the first thing that moves. And that's true. That's what we do. You know, that's absolutely what we do. If we find aliens, someone would try to fuck one of them, and then other people would be like, "Oh, that guy's fucking them. I can fuck them too." So that's the explanation of why there's so many humanoid.
A little bit of William Shatner Star Trek here.
So that's
Was there an alien he didn't stick his dick in?
Yeah, that's why. That is the Doctor Who's explanation as to why there's so many humanoid aliens, is because a lot of them are half human. So you have things like that. You understand histories of almost of the Daleks. There's enough episodes throughout the entire 50 year span of this show. It's been going on since the 50s, my dude. Or 60s, I think early 60s. Brain. So, you know, like, the histories of certain, like, the Daleks. They have an episode called Genesis of the Daleks, and then you can track their progression through Doctor Who. And what's interesting about Doctor Who is because it's a time travel show, not everything happens in chronological order in the show, but after the fact, you can go through and make a Zelda-esque style timeline. Oh, yeah, so where it's like, because the Doctor, things don't happen to him in the right order because he's a time traveler. But if you piece everything together, you can find a timeline. So with world building, I have to disagree with Thurman here. I think that there's so many different planets and so many different, like, how this works, how that works. If you like world building, that is a Doctor Who staple, because the entire point of the series is it's the ultimate adventure show. You hop in the TARDIS, you can go anywhere in time and space.
Ooh. All right. So with world building out of the way, so I guess we can go straight to character development.
Indeed.
So character development is definitely what Beelzelbub has. You know what I'm saying? We have. Let me give you a few characters here. First, we have Tatsumi Oga, who's essentially your one of the mill delinquent. You know, he's a fighter. He's been fighting since he was a kid. So, at first glance, when you first read the series, he doesn't really seem much. You know, he seems like you're just bland, delinquent-esque shonen character. You know, but as the series progresses, because once he finds Baby Beal, the demon son, you know, Beelzelbub, he first he tries to get rid of him. Like a few arcs is him trying to pass him off to someone else, trying to essentially try to get rid of him because Baby Beal is just a humongous, I wouldn't say thorn in his side, but, you know, raising a child is not easy. So, because Baby Beal, the reason why Baby Beal is in the human world is to essentially take it over because he's the son of the Demon Lord Beelzelbub, and the Great Demon Lord was like, okay, I want to destroy Earth, so I'm just gonna have my son do it. Kind of like a Goku-esque thing, except differently. So essentially, at first, Olga just get rid of him, tries to pass him off to some of the supporting characters along the way, and all in all. But as the series progresses, Olga kind of warms up to Baby Bill a bit. They start to form a bond, like a sort of like a father-son bond, it kind of, you see Olga's growth as a character through essentially raising this baby and all the fights that he goes through in the series, having to deal with demons from hell, having to deal with Baby Bill's older brother, stuff like that. So it's Olga kind of learns as he goes through this essential journey of raising Bill here is that he has to learn how to essentially care more for people's feelings, and you see him grow as a character. And Olga isn't necessarily the only character who gets a character development. There are a lot of characters in the series who after beating their ass kicked by Olga kind of is trying to find their own place in this universe. We see one good character who, because like I said in the world building, there's a hierarchy, right? So there's a hierarchy in the school, and one of the, I think they're called the four lords. I think I forgot the official name, but they're like like seven warlords type of thing. So one of them, after getting his ass kicked by Olga, he has like a little monologue to himself because he's not necessarily strong enough. So he's like, since when have I been so weak and pathetic to hide away from the enemy? Since when have I been so weak as to let like someone who's younger than me, take command of me and stuff like that? And he has like his own little character development. And the realization is you have to realize you yourself have to recognize your weaknesses and overcome them. And you have to know that there's always going to be someone stronger than you, in a sense. So there's a lot of great character development in the series. Each character has their own little character development, well, the important ones, and it's kind of neat to see you go through that journey. So, I mean, if we're talking in complete character development, then Beelzelbub has Doctor Who beat by miles, by 50 years.
It is. Ha, funny.
Okay, so he went from, I want to pass this brat off on you. Anybody want this old brat? To, oh, the little fucker's imprinted on me.
Yeah, I get how that goes. That's like your dog. That's how. Remember, it was like, get out of here. Oh, it's laying down all cute now. Even though it's Satan's child. Okay, so here's what I'll say about Doctor Who, and this is one of my favorite things about Doctor Who. In terms of like, if you're looking for like a complete character arc over time, I could see how a manga would beat out Doctor Who, but here's what Doctor Who does to kind of get around this problem. Doctor Who is a show where if you start and watch it, like let's say you watched it in 2010 and then you dropped it and you got back on this year, every single character would be different except for the Doctor. The Doctor will be played by a different actor, but still the same character. Now, here's what I'll say about this, right? So when it comes to the companions, each companion has their own little self-contained arc, right? So like, it's unlike Simpsons. Like, Simpsons has the problem of like long running, we gotta keep these characters the same, right? The companions switch out. So each companion has their own story, their own problems, and their own arc of development. And with the Doctor, the way they get around this is his species, the Time Lords, has and yes, they make fun of, in the show, they make fun of how pompous that is. Like, we named ourselves, we're really good with time shit. But, his species, basically, they have this way to extend life. If they get injured and they're about to die, they can regenerate, which is basically every cell in his body will die and then recreate itself on the fly. And the only thing that stays constant is it's the same man, same memory, or same person, same memories, right? So like all the memories, which is what makes you, stays the same, but everything else in your mind or in you will change, which causes some different personality quirks, some different this, some different that. And so like each Doctor will be slightly different, but still on the whole the same person. So an example of this is when 10th Doctor regenerated to the 11th Doctor, he actually had a moment where he had to figure out what his new favorite food was, because he's like, okay, he came out and he's like, fuck, I'm craving an apple right now. They gave him an apple and he's like, what the fuck is this? And she's like, it's an apple. And he's like, nope, apples are rubbish now, I hate apples. Because his taste buds actually changed. So, a good chunk of that episode was him like, beans, nope, hate beans. Butter on toast, wow, I hate butter on toast. What the fuck's wrong with my taste buds right now? So 11 was the one, let it be known, that had weird ass taste buds. Because his favorite food ended up being fish fingers dipped in custard. I'm sure you've heard that meme before, fish fingers and custard. So you have little personality quirks like that. The Doctors will change through regeneration, and even like the 12th Doctor, he was kind of going through a midlife crisis, because he was supposed to, each Time Lord is supposed to die after a certain amount of regenerations, and he kind of got his artificially extended through certain circumstances. So the 12th Doctor was having like a fucking midlife crisis situation where he kind of like was like, why am I still alive? And he was weird and dark and edgy to begin with, but it wasn't like the cringy edgy, it was more of like the... He was trying to figure out if he was a good person, because he always was around trying to be a good person, but he was worried that like the years and years and years of saving the universe had like numbed him to it, because he was doing shit like there was someone like he was trying to save the whole collective group, but he was being more logical and less emotional, in the sense of like, I want to save this group, so if I have to sacrifice one person to save this group, I'm going to do it completely straight-faced, right? So you have darker Doctors. Like, the 12th Doctor was darker, where there were points where he was like, I want to save the whole as a collective, so if I need to sacrifice you to do that, I will. You know what I mean? And then through his arc, he realized, wait a minute, that's not what I do. He had to remind himself, no, I am who I am because I work with my emotions. That's why it makes me a good person. So they have each... Because they switched out characters, they have different companions, different, this, that, and the other thing. They have their arcs, and then they move on to a new one. The show is always refreshing and changing, with the same basic premise. So in that regard, you will have character development, but not in like the overall long sense as you will in like a manga. So that's all. That's what I can give Doctor Who. You want to say something, David, about that? Or okay, Thurman.
Oh, you want to, David? What's the next category you wanna hear?
The rest up to you.
Okay, where do you want to go next to, Thurman?
Okay, so I guess we can go to characters now.
All right.
Like just individual characters. So, Red, you can start this one.
Okay. Well, the Doctor himself, like I said, there's been 13 different incarnations, and a couple more if you count weird little in-between things. But like, so... Each Doctor, when you're a part of this fandom, you can kind of pick apart, like, each little Doctor's, like, trope, which I love. Like, people call the first Doctor, like, the gentleman. He's very, like, like, tut-tut, I have a cane, blah, blah. The second Doctor, a lot of people call the space hobo, because he's just in a fucking trench coat, he's running around like he's shit his pants, and he, third Doctor was very James Bond-esque. Like, that was when James Bond movies were really popular, so third Doctor's doing some karate shit and, like fucking, neck pinch, Fourth Doctor is just fucking like nuts crazy. He's the one with the long ass scarf. Fifth Doctor was like kind of a return to, he was like a cricket playing guy, careful, spot a cricket. Sixth Doctor was kind of like one where they like went into like edgelord territory with him, and he was like, am I evil now? Ooh. Seventh Doctor was like a magician, like he was going for like the haha, I can do card tricks and woohoo. Eighth Doctor was like a romancer, like he was the first Doctor to actually like kiss a companion. Like, that's when they got a little frisque. Ninth Doctor, I like to call... I see the Ninth Doctor as the sassiest one. He's just extremely sassy. Like, he'll... I'll leave it at that for now. 10th Doctor was, like, the charming, dashing ladies, man. In fact, the Doctor loved his 10th incarnation so much that he still looks back to this day like, God damn it, why did I have to regenerate out of that form? Because every woman on Contact... He had that Kirito effect, all right? Every woman on Contact wanted to fuck him. Like, for real. And it's David Tennant. Who can blame them? I want to fuck him, kind of, a little bit. Oh, God. I only hope that one day we get popular enough for for them just to reach David Tennant. Like, maybe we'll have fans that'll tweet out David Tennant. One day.
So this red guy, he kind of wants to fuck
you.
you.
He really wants to fuck you. So if he meets you at a convention, just run. Consensually, David. Consensually. Yeah. So like, there's good moments in that. Like, there's a moment where he almost regenerates, and then he like as number 10, and then he has like this loophole to like heal without changing his body, which you'll see it makes sense. It was like foreshadowed a fuck long time ago. And there's even like he's like, yeah, why would I want to change? Look at me. And then later, the 11th Doctor, as he's looking back at his other regenerations, he's like, yeah, I once regenerated and kept the same form as my 10th self. I had vanity issues at the time. So like for the Doctor, you know how like you look back at like a picture of like you from like high school and you're like, oh my god, what was I thinking, right?
Oh my god, I had a mullet.
We've all thought about it, right? So that's kind of what it is. That's what it's like for the Doctor when he looks back at previous regenerations. He's like, oh my god, what was I thinking, right? Yeah, so
I'm curious. I know the 13th is a woman.
yes, I'm very curious how. That's what I'm curious about. That season's starting in autumn.
Yeah. So once 13 regenerates into 14,
Look back at all the stupid. Oh, okay.
What will the regeneration say? Would it stay a woman or would it go back to a man?
Well, we don't know. I mean, that'll be interesting.
If it goes back to a man, like, oh. Well.
There was one Time Lord in the show that we saw on screen them change from a man to a woman. And remember, their personality changes and shit. Like things that they thought were like super cool, they'll immediately be like, what the fuck was I thinking, right? Because their brain chemistry changes. So this person this Time Lord that turned into a woman was like, oh my, how did you handle all of that ego? Oh, it was amazing. Yeah. So but yeah, so
they can explore some really weird territory there too.
Oh yeah, it's interesting. Like I saw there was a Reddit post that was talking on the Doctor Who Reddit that was talking about how regeneration stories is like one of the most unique things. Like you don't see that in any other show because it's a story about like I'm dying but I still am gonna live. Right? It's the closest thing you can get to dying but still living on, essentially. Right? So like the 10th Doctor has a moment where he's explaining it like I live on physically, but it feels like dying. Everything I am dies and some new man saunters away, right? So like essentially everything that you were proud of your own personality, imagine that, right? You like this about yourself, you like this about yourself, right? It's all gonna die and just turn into something new. And whether that's good or bad is up to you, right? But like essentially everything you've built up because every time the Doctor regenerates, he starts from scratch. He is that now, and he has to build that up. He has to figure out what kind of foods does he like, what kind of music does he like, what kind of hobbies does he like. It's different every time, and he builds that up, and then he dies and has to do it again and again and again. And where we're at now with the 12th Doctor, one of my favorite moments is where he just wants to die. Like he actually tries to like forcibly stop himself from regenerating because he's just like, I'm just tired. I just want it to end. I'm sick. And there was a great interview from Stephen Moffat, the guy who was writing it at the time. He was like, imagine it from his perspective. He has to go. He's so tired and he has to go through this ghastly process where he doesn't know what he's gonna look like, he doesn't know what he's gonna sound like, he doesn't know what he's gonna feel like or anything. Like it's scary. It's like being born again, and it's terrifying for him. And so like you that's the Doctor's character and what I love about him. Because basically he's just going around. One more thing I love about the Doctor's character is he has never been like the Superman type. Like I must save that person. Here's how Moffat explains the Doctor. If the Doctor was walking past a burning building, he would not run in and save the person from the burning building. But if he found himself inside a burning building, then he'd be like, okay, I'm going to save everyone in a burning building. So he's not the kind of person that would dash to it. He's the kind of person that'd be like, well, I'm already in a burning building, so I'm going to save him. That's the Doctor. He finds himself in situations and he's like, I guess, well, I'm here.
I guess, well, I'm here.
Yeah, he just kind of stumbles into it, right? And that's mostly the doing of his TARDIS, because his ship is autonomous, and it kind of like leads it. A lot of times he'll be like, okay, I want to go to, because the TARDIS in itself is a character. So a lot of times he'll be like, okay, I want to go to this year, this time, and he has a specific thing that he's trying to do, and the TARDIS will take him like almost there. Like it's like, oh, I want to go to London, and so okay, well, we took you to this town like 10 miles south of London. It's like, okay, we're kind of almost there, and he always chalks that up to, oh, well, it's an old model, it's malfunctioning, but really it's the TARDIS taking him to where the problems are, because the TARDIS is like, no, you need to be there because shit's going down, and the Doctor's the kind of person, if there's nothing going on, he'd go bored out of his mind. You know what I memean? He wants shit to be happening. So that's the way that the show explains why is there always shit happening because the TARDIS takes him where shit's happening. The Moffat, the writer, explained it as the TARDIS sees the Doctor as her pet, right? And it's like, well, what happens if I take my pet and put him here? Let's watch the chaos, right? So that's what happens there. The companions, they're different every time. You kind of get to see, there's a magical moment every time there's a new companion in the show where you see the companion just like walk into the TARDIS and it's bigger on the inside, and they're like, what the fuck? And their whole mind opens up to the entirety of the universe and how their life changes and how they're going to react to this and this. Like, the first companion, her dad died in a car accident, and she wanted to go back in time and try to stop it from happening. And the doctor's like, no, you can't do that. That time travel shit, right? So she like lies to him and says, oh, I just want to be there to say goodbye to him at least, right? I just want to be there to say goodbye to him at least, and and then she lies to him. You can do what you need to do. She lies to him, and then she tries to save him, and then it fucks up time. And there's this really cool dynamic where the doctor's pissed at her. The doctor's like, I gave you my trust, and you only came with me because there's a moment where she only came with him when she's and remember, David, you have watched the first episode and that's it. And remember the part where he's like, oh, it can travel anywhere in space, and she's like, nah, I'm alright. And then he came back and he was like, also time, and then she came. Mm-hmm. It's revealed that the reason she did that was because ever since that first moment he said time travel, she was thinking about trying to change history for when her dad died. So the doctor's like, you only came with me to use my fucking time travel. You didn't come with me because you wanted to have an adventure or just have fun or just enjoy the world together. You came with me to use me, like every other fucking human. You know what I mean? Like, and he kind of has a moment where he's just like, why do I went, I did it again. I trusted another stupid ape, you know? So you have a lot of moments like that where the companions will have their own storylines and shit like that. So, yeah, that's my thing with characters.
All right, that was pretty deep. I'm not gonna lie, but it's time we dig into this. All right, because the one thing that I'm hearing that Doctor Who lacks is character diversity. Yeah, all right, Doctor Who. The Doctor drives the Doctor. Well,
to be fair, there's a lot of every time they go to a new because it's Adventure of the Week, they meet like new people every week, but they don't like stick around. I guess if that's what you're worried about, then yeah, I can give you that one.
But let's talk about why Beelzelbub with their characters is lit. All right, so I already talked about Olga. So let's talk about the other characters in the series, right? First things first, let's talk about I believe her name is Kunasaki, I believe. I could be wrong, all right? So she's a female character in the series. She is a leader of I believe they're called the Red something. A group of females who, you know, very, very, they're what feminists should be, but, you know, badass and all the other stuff, you know. It's, so their main thing is they're like a group of women, they're high schoolers, by the way, a group of women who have a very strong justice for, you know, not necessarily women's rights per se, but you know, they have a faction in the school. So their leader goes through the struggle because she falls in love with Olga in a series, right? And mostly her love began as a misunderstanding because you know how Olga tried to get rid of Baby Beale. It's actually kind of funny. So she misunderstands the fact that Olga, because Olga actually Olga is a first year, and in the hierarchy, the first years can't really fuck with like the second years or third years type deal, you know, especially since it's a delinquent school. And there's rumors going around that Olga was like fucking everybody up. He was like ruining the code. He's already taken down like two heads of like the school, whatever. So she went in and tried to, you know, solve the problem, discipline him. But what you don't realize, however, she met Olga beforehand in disguise. And so she goes and meets Olga, right? And she's a sword user. She has the unique ability to she has a sword style that uses wooden swords, and the wooden swords can cut, like she can use like for one instance, she's like a ruler, and she was able to cut another sword like cleanly off, like the tip of it, like anything like wooden she can use, right? So so she goes in, she tries to fuck Olga up, but Olga's too powerful for her, and so she's
wait.
Question. He's got a question.
Thurman, just the tip?
Yeah.
Oh my god, he said just the tip.
Yes, just the tip.
Okay.
So she goes in and tries to fuck up Olga, right? But the issue is Baby Beal only makes like a pact or like a pair, a contract with someone who's evil, like someone who's like I wouldn't say evil, but someone who's like diabolical, has like evil like you know how like delinquents are like aren't evil, but they're like have like negative energy. Someone who has negative energy and someone who's like strong. That's what Baby Beal is attracted to. So he has to pass it off to someone else who's strong. So he finds out, although Kusanagi doesn't really deal much shit to Olga's like, oh shit, she's super strong. So like, since she's super strong, you want to be this guy's parent, and Olga throws Baby in front of her, and she completely misunderstands. She thinks that he wants me to be the parent to this baby. That means, and that's his baby, so that means that you want to get married. So there's that whole misunderstanding.
The pun was worth it, my dude.
So it's just like a whole misunderstanding there. And as the series goes on, as her character grows, she finally confirms her, because once you're a part of like this group, you're not allowed to necessarily fall in love. You're not allowed to have a boyfriend or anything like that. So going down the road, she accepts her feelings, and then she leaves the group because she's like, okay, I've accepted I'm in love with this person, so I can't be a leader of this group anymore. But later down the road, she comes back because because of situations. But overall, she has this struggle with becoming strong, and then getting the densest motherfucker who's more denser than Goku to realize that she is in love with him. So it's kind of that, and of course she confesses.
Insert you dense motherfucker incredible meme here.
Yeah. So it's just like, so her as a character, she's a very strong female character in the sense of it's the perfect example of a girl falling in love, a girl trying to. She is kind of, Uraka is kind of like what she is. And we all know how good of a character Uraka is. So,
Uraka, best girl.
That should give you a little hint there, David. Wink, wink. So, there's her, and then we have Baby Beal himself, like the actual child. So the actual child, you could even argue, has character development himself because as a baby, you don't know what the fuck is going on, right? You don't know what the hell's going on. So as a baby,
but it's like a weird demon baby, isn't it?
No, he's not a weird demon. He's still necessarily a baby, but this with green hair.
He's a fucking demon baby, I thought.
I mean, he's not. He doesn't have like red skin or anything like that.
Well, I know what he looks like. He looks like fucking Baby Zoro from One Piece.
Yeah. So, but I mean, he's still an adorable little child on protect status that cries. That once he cries, he just spews out electricity.
Oh yeah, totally got to protect that.
But the reason why you kind of grow up to Baby Beal is Baby kind of he just like any other baby. Babies are very influential. Baby Beal isn't really evil himself. It's about how you raise him. And Olga even says this. Like, Olga's main purpose, Baby Beal's main purpose is to destroy humanity, right? His main purpose is to destroy humanity. But Olga's like, I'm not going to allow that to happen because I'm the parent. I won't let Baby Beal grow up and destroy humanity. So it's all about how you raise him. And Baby Beal has this. So
basically, it's a story about like if I raise him right, maybe he won't be a demon baby, or he won't act like the demon baby that he is.
So it's Dragon Ball.
Kind of. I see the differences.
Yeah, the premise there is just if I raise it right, it won't, destroy humanity kind of shit. That's pretty clever. I mean, it's flipped it on its head. That's not something I do like.
Yeah. So it's on the sense of, because you can see this character development, because in one moment, Baby Beal, because remember, these two Baby Beal he is still growing, so he doesn't have demonic power yet. He has it, but he needs to make a contract with his, I would say, some stepfather, in a sense, to give him demonic power so he can grow up. He has to feed off of someone else's, I would say, energy. So it's like a pact. Baby Bill can't really do anything. He's fairly weak on his own because he's still a baby. You know, he doesn't really have demonic power. So he needs like Olga or someone of that nature to essentially help him so he can release demonic power. So in one arc, Baby Bill has like humongous fever. He had, you know, he's sweating a lot, and that's because I have to remember. It's been a long time since I've read it, but he had to break the pact with Olga because their connection was kind of deteriorating, and if he didn't break the pact, Olga would have died. And so Bill has his own little character development here. Is that he got to the point where he cared for Olga so much that he literally made himself suffer, and you know, have a high fever, sweating, and all the extra stuff just so Olga wouldn't die. You know, Olga went in and was like, "Don't underestimate me, motherfucker. You know, I can handle it." Blah blah blah. And then they, you know, then it was able to, they were able to essentially become a good pair. But that's another case of great good characters. Like, who would think like a fucking baby would be a great character in a series, right? So that's the one thing that kind
of. So what you're saying is he becomes best dad.
Yeah. And I mean there are other characters as well. All the other delinquents are very well likable characters. Even Hilda, the wet nurse, has her moments. She's like assigned to Baby Bill to make sure that he finds a suitable parent and make sure he grows up and blah 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 blah. So she has character development as well. So overall, I would say compared to Doctor Who, I feel like Doctor Who just relies on the Doctor himself, while Beelzebub has different characters that are likable, and you wouldn't just come back next week just for good. You'd come back to see what supporting characters are doing, what Fiorucci is doing, you know, stuff like that. So that's where I feel like Beelzebub kind of takes the lead in characters for Doctor Who. So I think that would end that.
It does not only focus on the Doctor, because a lot of it is how the Doctor and the companion how their relationship flourishes, because the Doctor kind of, again to quote something from Moffat, the guy who wrote it for the past couple of years, the Doctor's been around the universe so much because he's ancient and he can go anywhere in the universe. He's basically seen so many things and he knows so much stuff about the universe. In order to recapture that spark of amazement, he brings around people with him to kind of see their amazement. Because it's kind of like when you've seen a show a million times, right? You still love it, but it's a lot more fun to see someone's reactions to it. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what the Doctor is for these companions. So he brings these companions, and it's like their sense of wonder and amazement reminds him, oh yeah, this is amazing, you know? And of course, they all have their own stories. So Rose actually falls in love with the Doctor, which only happens once, so it's not like it happens. She was the one that it happened with. It's not like that's a recurring theme. After that, you have Donna, who is great. Donna was a good story of she was someone who was in her mid-40s. She had a dead-end job. She still lived with her parents in her 40s because she could never get off of her feet. And it was it was a really sad thing where she kind of felt like she was worthless, and she didn't actually She felt like she was worthless and she'd never get anywhere, and then the Doctor kind of showed her that she could be important, and she went around and saved alien races with him, and there's alien races that literally sing songs of Donna to this day because she's saved so many races. And he tells her mom, she's the Doctor goes to his mom, or Donna's mom, and he's like, there are races out there that praise her name for saving them, and she for a moment she was the most important woman in the universe. And then her mom's like, well, she is the most important woman, the classic mom thing to say. And then the Doctor, fucking burn of a lifetime, he's like, well, maybe you should treat her like that. Maybe you should tell her that sometime, because she was kind of a bitchy mom. So you have shit like that. You have shit with, I'm trying to think, Amy is a good one, where, Amy Pond, her thing was really fascinating, or I don't want to spoil too much, because eventually I'm going to get David into this show. But I'm trying to remember. So Amy, when he first lands, he first meets Amy as a child, actually. Like, he crash lands into her bedroom, or not bedroom, back room as a...
that would be a little bit creepy.
The TARDIS was out of control, so even if it was the bedroom, it was an accident. No, it was her backyard, and you know, he meets her as a child, and he was gonna take her, you know, like on some adventures to make up for crashing in her backyard. But the time travel, like his TARDIS is fucked up as you know, seen by the crash landing. So he leaves. He comes back. What he thinks it's been like 10 minutes. Really, it's been like 10 years. So he comes back, and she's like, you know, like 20 or something, right? So
a lot less like free candy in the TARDIS.
Yeah, and a lot more like, goddamn, she's hot now. And for it's actually, that's brought up. It's hilarious because as we've mentioned before, a lot of women want to fuck the Doctor because he's this dashing man that comes and takes you away to adventure, right? So Amy puts on the moves with him, and and he's like, for me, you were like a child 10 minutes ago. I'm a time traveler. It's weird. You know what I mean? So like, there's shit like that. All the characters are supporting. Usually the companions stay for like 2 or 3 seasons. They have their arc, they have their character change, and then they either die in some horrific, tragic way, or
I've heard some of the horror stories on the fucking Tumblr.
Yeah, or just choose to leave. But what I will say, what I enjoy about Doctor Who, I think the most, is that Doctor Who is one of the few shows I've seen that can break plot armor. Okay? Plot armor does not exist in Doctor Who.
So there's no Jesus Coon?
Right. Well, plot armor doesn't have to exist in Doctor Who because characters can die. So the Doctor, that's what's great about regeneration, right? The Doctor dies. That's him dying. So like when the Doctor regenerates, like the Doctor's regenerated before just like getting like shot in the head. You know what I mean? Like well, to be fair, it was the chest, but he shot. So like you get shot. And normally in a show they have to write around like, oh, we can't have him get shot because he's the main character. In this show, every couple adventures, like every 100 or so adventures, he's gonna fuck up and actually die. You know what I mean? So there are episodes where he actually, like, oh, the Doctor's actually dying in this one. You know what I mean? So like, because otherwise you'd be like, how has he gone on this many adventures and not died? Yep. But with the regeneration, it breaks that entire plot hole. And companions are the same way. And it's one of those tragic things where the Doctor knows every time he brings a companion on, he's like terrified to travel with them for too long because he's like, I know you're going to die. It happens to everyone. You know what I mean? Yeah. Something horrible is going to happen to you. So like what the Doctor usually tries to do is travel with them for like a year or two and then like boot them off, right? So there's one the companion that's like, why are you putting me away? I want to travel with you for the rest of my life. Like I love this. My normal life's boring compared to this. And he's like, listen, if I keep traveling with you, one day I'm going to be burying you. You know what I mean? And it's this really sad moment where it's like, I know how this goes. The longer you stay with me, one day I can't protect you from everything. Trouble follows me. You know what I mean? And so no, the companions are very important for this. So yeah, that's my. But yeah, that's my argument. Is there any other categories you have to go through, Thurman?
David, have you feel like you've heard enough?
I mean, I think a good 4 categories would be good. So if you can think of another one,
all
that'd be great.
I guess that's it. It's up to David to decide now.
I mean, both these series have been on my watch list for a long time. So, this basically comes down to which I'd watch first.
Mm.
So I suggest that you go through each. You go one by one. You go through each category, and then you pick necessarily which one that, like, from hearing our discussions, you go through each one, then pick which one. Like, kind of like review what you heard and then give us like which one, by how we said it, which one was more interesting to you for each category, and then you can make.
Thurman suggests that you do it his way. He's the judge and he'll do it how he wants, bro.
Okay, so I mean, world building, you can do a lot more with the fucking universe than the pits of hell and Earth.
By the way, Doctor's been to hell. At least space version of hell.
I think he lives hell.
He lives a hell, but there is a moment where, because what's great about the Doctor is they can really introduce any form of like legend and just be like, it was aliens. So like,
it was aliens.
Well, there's actually a good point that's made in Doctor Who where it's like, where do you think these legends come from? They come from somewhere, and it's that they were aliens and mankind didn't know. So vampires in fucking Doctor Who, aliens. It's a race of fish people that use holograms to make themselves look human, but they still suck blood. Those are vampires.
The fuck?
That's Doctor Who, baby. And
he's an alien.
Well, that honestly, I can see them doing that. They have an episode coming because you know how you can check like filming pictures.
Yeah.
They're filming an episode that's going to involve Rosa Parks somehow.
Oh,
and
my
I'm like,
fucking God.
I'm just like, don't make her an alien. Don't make her an alien. That'd be very bad.
Make her an alien.
Yeah, there's some things that I don't know if that's too soon. The Rosa Parks thing, because even though it's not technically too soon, some people might be like, "What are you?" Because they do that all the time. They go to history. They made Shakespeare not an alien, but like something happened with Shakespeare. I won't spoil. But yeah, so like brain. But yeah, no. So the Doctor has met what claimed to be Satan. What he is, I'll leave that up to you when we see that episode.
Okay. So basically, the Civil Rights Movement, aliens did it.
Yeah, humans are too stupid to want rights. Aliens fucking put
we are complacent as fuck usually.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's another. God, now I just want to fucking gush about Doctor Who. There's another good episode where like they're fucking essentially like the aliens. What they did is they came, took over, and then they used like this process that I won't go into right now to like basically make people think that they had been there for like eons, right? So like they'd only been there for 6 months, but they made people think that they'd been there for thousands of years. And the Doctor was like, people are a lot more likely to accept something if they think it's the way it's always been. It's like, ooh, that's good. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I'm gonna shut up and stop interrupting.
So basically, like I said, world building would have to go to Doctor Who because he's got the whole fucking universe and time to play around with.
This show was made for world building.
Fucking character development. I could see this one being a little bit more split. But I will give, credit to keeping a blank slate, but utilizing other characters.
It's basically the only good way to do a show this long running, I would say.
I mean, Family Guy's kind of even trying to do that now,
Oh,
but they're failing miserably.
Yeah. How's South Park do it?
South Park does it by utilizing background characters more than the actual like main cast. Like even with Token, they did shit with him.
I mean, just to be 100% fair, with Doctor Who, because it's an adventure of the week, you will have shit episodes and you will have good episodes, right?
Exactly.
But you sit through the shit episodes because even in the shit episodes, the Doctor is entertaining. You know what I mean? And then the good episodes are fucking amazing, right? So like that's what so I look at it as like a comic you'd buy at a store weekly, right? This might be the issue where where Spider-Man's fucking stopping a fucking purse thief. Oh, it's not too crazy, but hey, it's something. You know what I mean?
You got a couple one-liners in there.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, and it's always entertaining. Even if it's one of those shows where even if it's like a shitty episode, it's kind of like, well, how shitty is this going to be? This might be interesting.
Can they fuck this up British?
Yeah.
Or do they fuck this up American? Because, even good shit in Britain is, fucking funny to us Americans.
Oh, yeah.
But American fucked up is just like, oh, this was a pile of dog shit.
Indeed.
But yeah, I'm going to give the character development to Beelzelbub because, they can work with the entirety of the cast versus,
that's fair.
95% of the cast.
Yeah.
Character-wise, I will, because there's such a more diverse cast, and the fact that you meet characters that you'll never even see again, but even they can be a little bit fleshed out over time, and they can actually mean something to the plot versus, we got the same, 5-6 characters, in this manga versus, oh shit, we got this race of aliens here that we're learning about. Only, even if we're not going to see it again, we're learning something about the lore of the series versus, this character just got into a fight where, they lost the tip of a sword.
Just the tip.
But, I mean, stuff like that, that's really interesting because you might never see it again, but you're still learning lore versus I'm learning a little bit of backstory about this character, or I'm just in the middle of a fight. So I'm going to give characters to Doctor Who as well. But like I said, this is which one I would watch first. And I mean, as we stated at the beginning of the episode, I've actually watched the first episode of Doctor Who with Red while we were editing a previous episode of the fucking Versus Battle.
And then once we get in the apartment together, we binging that, boy.
Yeah.
Hyped for that.
So it would be, do I read Beelzebub or do I do I watch Doctor Who? I would watch Doctor Who first because, you know, I'm a sci-fi junkie.
Haha!
I'm a sci-fi junkie to begin with, and this is something that's been on my watch list for a very, very long time, and now I have a fucking reason to watch it because he's kind of sold me on it.
Yay!
But Thurman, you did a very good job pitching your series here, and that's giving me more motivation to read that and / watch that. Is the anime any good, or is it garbage?
It's a filler-filled shitbag. I just read the manga.
Okay. That they're just determine which fucking.
I almost always go for manga, man. Like the only I can think of a couple anime that are better than manga. That would be Fullmetal Alchemist, Brotherhood. That would be Hunter x Hunter 2011. That would be Mob Psycho. I'm trying to think of other one. Yu Yu Hakusho. No, well, actually no. Yeah, it is because Yu Yu Hakusho wasn't actually finished. Fucking Togashi like dropped his pen down like fuck you guys, you're being assholes. So yeah. There are a couple. 9 times out of 10, the manga's better. But yeah, so I liked the interesting video idea. We'll see how the audience likes it, if it gets any reception. All credit goes to Thurman for this idea. You know, he may not be able to learn animating, but he can come up with good video ideas.
All right. Doctor Who wins it.
Thurman, you have 2 seconds to defend yourself from that sick burn. 1, 2.
You're good.
No.
Tune in.
I just kind of feel bad now. It's like when you're fucking like mouthing off at a puppy and it's like, oh. You sure? No defense, really?
No, we're good.
Oh, that's weird. Now I just feel bad. He knows how to get me now. Peace, bitch.